But I decided we need to see if we can recognize something. Okay? What person is this? Ketty. Okay. Second person. Omen, Eddie. Just remember your endings. O-I-S-I, Omen, Eddie, Usi. So this is second person plural. And we've already had that one up here. Echo. And this one? Akuo, I hear. No, akuo. This is just first person singular here. That's your vocabulary. Yeah, that's easy. That's your vocabulary part. Just keep on memorizing those endings for present indicative active. O-I-S-I, Omaneti, Usi. And then for the middle and passive, my-si, tai, mitha, este, intai. So, and that way you can recognize whether you're in active or middle or passive. Any questions about the verbs? So we need to move on. And you can take all of your vocabulary words that you've learned and take them through, decline it, parse it all the way through. Just take each one of them, make kuo, kuais, kui. Any questions about the verb, the present tense? So if we had another test and I put this up here and I asked you to take it through present indicative active, singular and plural, what would you do? Okay, just no. Second person singular is what? Ice. And then right, that's singular. And then plural. Omen, Eddie, Usi. And Blipo means what? See. I see. So when you see a verb in the verses you're looking at, in its present indicative active, you ought to be able to recognize that it is present indicative active, whether it's plural or singular. Remember, in English, if we were writing I see out, we would have the pronoun I and see. But in Greek, the pronoun is here in the endings. I, you, he, she, it. We, you, they. Now, I'm just going to move on to, if you have a question, I'll back up and stop because make sure we understand. Hey, Ryan. Well, let's move to, these are verbs we've been looking at. Let's move to nouns. And you should know from English that and I'm just reminding us. A noun is a person, place, a thing. And nouns are used in sentences as subjects or predicate nominative or direct object. I'll get back to that in a moment. In Greek, when you're talking about nouns, and this was in your lesson for today, they're what they call three declensions. First, second, and third. We had the second for today. For the most part, those in first declension nouns are feminine. A second declension, for the most part, are either masculine or neuter. And I need to know how the nouns relate to the verbs in the sentences for Greek. A noun is a word that names or designates a person, place, or thing. I'm trying to get through in English, we have three different cases, and I don't know about Spanish. The subjective case, which is the case of the subject. The objective case, which is the case of the direct object. And the possessive case, which shows possession. The boy's bat. possession. In Greek, when we talk about cases, the case indicates how the noun is being used in relationship to the verb and the other parts of the sentence. Again, we have 3 cases in English: subjective, objective, and possessive. But in Greek, and it depends on what author you're reading, there are either 5 or 8 cases. I learned 8, so that's what we'll do. The reason it's different is because these 5 of them have different aspects of it, and if you put it all out to how they're used, there are 8 cases. So here are the cases in Greek. Nominative, I'm just going to abbreviate. Genitive, ablative, and I'll tell you what these mean in a minute. Locative, instrumental, dative, and I should have listed these separately. Genitive 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and there are 2 more. Let me stop right here. Have I lost everybody? And the last 2, that accusative and vocative. And I'll tell you what all this means in just a minute. So a noun is going to be in a sentence in one of these cases. In Greek, that's called the declension. And there are 3 of those declensions. There are gender, masculine, feminine, or neuter. So when I began to look at these cases, I see how that begins to tell me how the noun is being used in a sentence. When it's in the nominative case, it is usually the subject of that sentence. It can also be used in some instances as a predicate nominative, but that will always follow a to be verb, a state of being. So the nominative case is the case of the subject. And you learned what the vocabulary that we had for today was second declension. Most of these are masculine, with a few of them being neuter. So one that ought to be familiar, logos, which is word. This is the nominative, masculine, singular. And this is what you find in your vocabulary, the way you learned it. They give you the nominative case as you look for the lesson for today. And logos may not have been in that one. I don't see it. But anyway, that's the word for word. Logos. Anthropos. I think we went over that. Okay. I'm sorry. I'm throwing some up there that you hadn't have. The nominative is the case of the subject. It designates. It's the naming case. So, I don't want us to get all confused with jumping out of verse. Is that, everybody understand that? No. And you notice in your vocabulary, out behind the word, is that if it's masculine, it's got the definite article omicron with that rough breathing mark. That's the. If it's neuter, it's to. And they will put that out at the end of that verb. So if it was written like this, ho logos, it would be the word. There is no, the Greek doesn't have an indefinite article like a. The article in the Greek always defines, it points something out. It makes it specific, the word. But if this was missing and you just found the word logos in a sentence, it would be a word. Because Greek does not have an indefinite article like we do.
So you replace the with a?
If it's not there, it's most likely there will be an a. Sometimes it's not any kind of article there, Josh. It just depends on the sentence.
Indicating that it's singular?
Well,
A word, that would be singular, right?
yes, a word. Yep. Have I lost everybody?
So
the nominative case is the case of the subject. It's telling me who or what is doing the action. And the form that they gave you in the vocabulary for you to learn is the second declension, masculine singular. Whatever word. Let me. When you're looking at nouns in the Greek, you're going to have case. One of these 8 cases, you'll have gender. It'll be masculine, feminine, or neuter. You'll have number, which means it's plural or singular. And what you're learning in your vocabulary is the lexicon form. That's how you're going to find it in the lexicon. Angelos or logos, anthropos, it doesn't matter whichever one that you are. I better use what was in your vocabulary so we don't get you confused. Anthropos was the first one you learned. So when I'm looking at anthropos, I'm looking at the nominative, masculine, singular. Now, the case tells me how the noun is being used in a sentence. So if we put up here ho anthropos, and I put this with it, and I got to get all the letters in there. And I put that with it, how would that read? What is anthropos? No, what does that mean? What? Anthropos. The man. It means a man or a person. So if it was ho anthropos, you know by the ho that it's a definite article. The man, and if I added a kuo with it, the man, well, let's get the right ending for a kuo now. What would that be? He hears. I. So here you found these words in a sentence. Ho anthropos ekui. The man hears. This is nominative case because this is the subject. Here's the verb. Singular. Yes, that's the singular ending. This is the nominative singular ending in the second declension. Omicron sigma tells me it's masculine and it's second declension noun. I don't want to go. I'm afraid I can't tell whether you got it or not got it.
We're not really sure. About what's a declension.
About what?
A declension.
Okay, the declension just simply tells us
What the gender is
All right.
of the word,
It's declension in Greek is the grouping of the nouns according to their endings. We're in the second declension now, so the ending is for masculine it's omicron sigma. If it's neuter, it's omicron nu.
We were wondering what's declension because this is our word.
Yes, I understand. I understand that. And I jumped off into that without really explaining everything to you. Declension simply is the orderly arrangement of the forms of the noun. So, if it's a second declension noun, then we're going. The declension simply means I take these cases and I'm going to add, like we did with the verbs, I'm going to add the endings for each one of these cases. For the nominative case, if it's masculine, it's omicron sigma. The man or a man. These two, and the good news is these two cases and these three, you won't have to learn different. These two right here have the same ending. Omicron, upsilon. For instance, in English, if we wanted to make a singular noun plural, what would we do with it? Well, you add an S or an ES. Or sometimes it would just change from man to men, children, a child to children. But in Greek, it's the ending that's going to give me an understanding of plural or singular. And what declension it is, whether it's masculine or neuter or feminine. I know that sounds confusing. Remember that the case is telling me how the noun is being used in the sentence in relationship to the verb and the rest of the words in that sentence. So, with the nominative case, the subject case, the naming case, the ending is omicron sigma. The genitive ablative, and I'll tell you what these cases mean, have this ending, omicron upsilon. So when I see that written that way, I know that this is either a genitive, it has the same ending. It's either a genitive or an ablative. Now, These three cases have this ending. Omega with a subscript under it. And the accusative case is omega nu. Now, I'm not worried about the vocative right now. That's the case of address. Pardon?
Accusative and locative? Both?
Locative, instrumental, and dative all have the same ending. This one right here. These three have this ending. And the use in the sentence will tell you which one of the cases it is. The easy way to write that, if you were locating that on a test, would be lid. Locative, instrumental, dative. Now, each one of these cases has a different use. The nominative case is the subject case. The genitive case describes something or defines something. It will attribute a quality or a relationship to a noun. The ablative case is used to express the idea of separation or departure from something, or sometimes the origin of something. It's going to have the same ending as the genitive. I have to look at it in the sentence and asking how this word is being used. What better describe, is this being used to describe origin? Is it being used to describe or define something? Or is it used to separate something? Maybe if I give you an illustration of that, it would maybe help. I knew this was probably going to... the basic function of the genitive case is to describe and define something. In English, we would do that with the preposition of. The case or the book of the man. It defines that book. So, when you're translating into English with the case, say it was either genitive or ablative. It was of a genitive case, it will be you're defining something. It would be of, usually the preposition of, and if it's ablative case, it's from. A letter from the man. It's not going to have all of these different words in the sentence like we do in English or Spanish. You'll know because of its case that you're going to add a preposition with it, if that makes sense. And I can see that's confusing. The locative case, just by that word locative, what would that indicate? If I said, well, let me not ask this question. The locative case indicates a location or a place or a position.
In the house.
In the house. In English, we would add that preposition in or among or beside. It's the case that indicates a place or position it locates.
I'm not really too sure about dative, though.
I hadn't got there yet, Joshua. No. I know I'm on locative. The instrumental case is the means of how something is done. It indicates that by which the action is carried out. We would say with the preposition with or by. The dative case indicates personal interest. And it's ordinarily used, the dative case is ordinarily used with people rather than things. In English, we would use the preposition to or for. I don't want to make this get us all confused at the very beginning. So let me put something up here. I think we had this word already. And we have angelos. Have you had that in your vocabulary? Which means angel, or if it's referring to a person, usually a messenger. So here, I've learned this in the vocabulary. This is nominative singular. And it would be, if it didn't have the definite article out there, if it did have the definite article, I'd put it down, the messenger. If it didn't have one, it would be a messenger. Now, genitive and ablative, I'm inflecting, going down through these cases. Genitive and ablative endings would be ooh. Like over here. I think I erased that, didn't I? Yep. Upsilon. So if it's in a sentence, like this form, I've got to determine, is it genitive or ablative? Genitive case describes something, or defines something. So if it was genitive, it would be probably of an angel or messenger. If it was ablative case, and that's the case of separation from an angel or the angel. Are you picking that up?
It would just be the angel or the angel.
It would depend on whether there's a, well, say that again, Josh.
Did you say or the angel? Or
No, I said
the angel?
if there's an article, it would be the angel.
The angel.
Of the angel, or if it's not, of an angel.
Okay.
Or from an angel.
How do you determine which one it is?
You'll always, the article will be with it in there.
Okay.
It would have this in front of it.
Because genitive and ablative have the same singular and plural.
Yes. Oh, you're talking about genitive or ablative? By the sentence. By what sense it makes sense in the context of that sentence. Would it make sense from an angel, of an angel?
Okay.
Which one? So you have to see how, or a messenger.
Is that the same word for messenger?
Yes. And usually that's how it's used unless it specifies a divine supernatural being. For instance, in the 7 churches of Revelation, John addresses it to the angelos of the church at Laodicea. Obviously, he's talking about the pastors, the messengers in that church, not an angel. So if it was the dative, the locative, instrumental, and dative all have the same ending, Omicron. So if I had that up there.
What's instrumental?
But the means by which something is done, the instrument by which you do something. So if it was dative, you remember dative is that of personal interest. It's ordinarily used with a person. So if it was dated, it would be to or for an angel or a messenger. If it's locative, that locates, and I would use it with same ending, but the preposition is going to be different. It would be, location would be in or among. So I could say among the messengers.
I got you. That makes sense. So you would use something to indicate the location.
Yes, the preposition is what defines that, Josh. That tells you. by the prepositions that's used. Yeah.
Above the messengers, among
Mhm.
the messengers.
So, locative locates
And the instrumental
is the means by which something is done.
uh,
By an angel or
with an angel.
with an angel. No, that with would be location.
Oh, that would be okay. Well, then what's instrumental?
The instrument by which something is done. And I don't know whether he gives you
It says the instrumental also uses the same form as the dative and expresses means or instrument as the name.
right, that's just right.
The apostles teaches with law.
Right. Okay. You can use with.
But not saying with.
You let the context and how it's being used in the sentence determine whether it's locative, instrumental, or dative. Normally, if we were writing in English, we would put a preposition with it, but in Greek, the preposition is in the ending. Now, there are prepositions in the Greek, and if they use a preposition along with it, it's for emphasis. But the preposition will be in the ending, so you'll know how to translate it. Then the accusative is the case of the direct object. And it has an Omicron new ending. I won't worry about the vocative right now.
I'm not too sure about it too because I'm reading it right now and I don't understand it.
Well, if you wrote down in English, the boy hit the ball. Ball is the accusative case, the direct object. The direct object. Everybody confused?
This is like learning Greek.
Yeah, it is like learning Greek, isn't it? Vocative is a case of address. Josh, that's vocative case. I'm addressing you.
So if you have the sentence, the boy hit the ball, the boy would be nominative and the ball would be...
Accusative. Accusative. Well, let me put one up here and we'll see if we can figure that out. And again, I need to keep up with your vocabulary. I don't know which... Nah. Have we had apostolos? The apostle? Have we had that one? Apostolos? Okay. So read that sentence. Okay. In English, what does that say?
The apostle
Legi is, pardon? No. Lego. Say. The apostle says a word. There's no definite article, so a word. And this is the accusative because it ends in Omicron nu.
And if it did have a definite article, how would it be?
The word. The apostle speaks the word. I'd put oh ho here.
Oh, right, with the breath mark.
And this is the nominative case because you know that ending. This is the accusative case because you've learned that ending. And this is the direct object of the sentence. The apostle speaks the word, or a word if there's no article out there.
We got this, go home. Is it apostolos or apostolos?
Well, either way, I've told you that nobody knows for sure how it was pronounced.
Is Greek, was all the languages based off of Greek or Latin?
Both.
Both? Because I'm noticing a lot of similarities in the English and the
It's off of both. Have you had this word? Did we have this in a vocabulary? Karpos?
I think we did. I'm not sure.
Well, I mean, it's not in today's vocabulary, but I thought maybe it was somewhere else. Maybe not. Yeah, there it is. Fruit. You had that back in lesson 2. Okay, so if I put this up here, huh?
The fruit would be ho carpos, right?
Yeah, if it had that in front of it, it would be the fruit. So if I put up there, this is one sentence. Ekais ho karpos. Excuse me. Nope. Let me change this ending. That's it. New. What does that say?
You have the fruit?
Yep. You have the fruit. Again, your endings, if I had omen here, ekomen, we have the fruit. So this is the verb. We have, and remember the preposition is, the pronoun is in the ending of that noun.
In this case, if we said like
Of the verb.
karpos, it's just you have a fruit.
Yeah, if it's no definite article there, Alejandro. We have fruit if there was no article, no definite article. And fruit is in the accusative case because it's the direct object of that sentence. Is everybody sufficiently confused over all this? We're learning verbs and learning nouns, and now you can put this together in sentences. And it's not, I don't want to give the impression it's going to be that simple to pick up the Greek New Testament and read it. So you take these nouns that you've learned, the second declension nouns in your vocabulary, and there were some back in the other lessons. Practice the case endings: nominative, genitive, ablative, locative, instrumental, dative, and accusative. I just gave you the singular ones today, the singular endings. And you can put that together and make sentences out of it. Well, let me put one more up here and see if we can put that together, and then we'll. We'll just take up again next week on that. I think we've had these words. All right, what does that say? Just translate it in English. What does that say? Blepo is what? I see. Blepo ton kurion oikoi. I see. This is the nominative case. This is the ending for the accusative case. And this is either locative, instrumental, or dative with this ending. That's the last word is house. I see. What is kurion? No, kurios is the word you learn. Kurios is the word for Lord. I see the Lord. Now I've got to figure out, is this locative, instrumental, or dative case out here?
Ton is for the. No, ton.
The, yes. I'm sorry. I didn't go through the definite article declensions for you. I'll have to do that next week. But this is the definite. This is the form for the definite article.
I see the Lord, accusative.
What's that one? That's house. That's the word for house.
I see the Lord's house.
No.
I see the Lord.
Locative, instrumental, or dative. Put your preposition with it. Let's use locative. What would that say? Mm-hmm. And I should have put a definite article there. I see the Lord in the house.
In the house, right.
And I didn't put the definite article up there. Or in a house. I see the Lord in a house.
I see the Lord. So it wouldn't have anything in front of oikoi. It would just be kurion oikoi. And it would be understood that it would be in a house.
If it doesn't have the definite article, it's going to be a. I see the Lord in a house.
There wouldn't be a word for in up there?
It's in the ending, John.
Oh, okay.
There is a preposition. There are prepositions in Greek,
Okay.
but they don't always use them because the prepositions are in the endings of the cases.
You gotta play real close.
So, and if they add a preposition along with the case like this, it would be added emphasis. Oh, gracious. Well, I'm.
That takes some time.
It takes time. We'll go over the plural endings next week, plus the different forms for the definite article, because it changes with the case. Like tone is accusative. I'll go over that with you. There is in your book. You can see that. on whatever page that is.
It's page 16.
If you'll look on page 16, he's got the declension of the article. Ho, genitive ablative, you add a tau, so it would be to. Dative locative instrumental, to, and accusative is tone. That's what's up here. Now, keep in mind, the article is always going to agree with whatever case it is, singular, plural, whatever case it is. You wouldn't have ho out here with kurion. It would be tone.
Is the plural, the ablative plural, is that ton or tone? How omega,
I didn't get there with y'all, Josh, because I didn't want to get y'all confused. What are you talking about?
But they're under genitive.
Tone. It's tone.
It's the same thing, it's just spelled differently.
Yes. Well, stay on this lesson then, and I'll try to get that. We'll finish that up next week. Have we lost everybody except y'all? Everybody dropped out? Where's Hunter? Is he off?
He might be doing a hospital visit, I'm not sure. They're finishing the website. I'll give him my notes, I don't know if they'll make any sense.
Okay. Ethan's not here either, is he?
I hadn't seen him.
He wasn't here last week. Don't despair. You'll get it.
He won't be here next week, he'll be at camp.
Okay. Well, Alejandro's filming, or if Hunter's here, you can make sense of his notes. Well, Eric and Liz may not be here. They may be in a hospital somewhere. It'll make sense. Like we put this together, just learning the endings and the cases, the verbs. I see the Lord in a house.
The word house, above the omicron, there is, no, in the beginning, the omicron,
Here.
yes, above that line.
Oh, that's I was.
Okay.
That's not anything. This is not a rough breathing mark, Alejandro. This is. I don't know why I put that up there. I wasn't.
Okay.
No, you gotta ask those questions.
Well, that's true. I was confusing. That's confusing. So I recognize that the word house is it's either locative, instrumental, or dative, and I've got to determine from the use of it in that sentence which one it is. And here it would be probably locative. I see the Lord in a house. Okay, well, I'll see you.